Senator Babbitt.
Thank you, Acting Deputy President. Now, I rise here today in support of Senator Colbeck and Senator Cadell's motion. Obviously, I do. Of course I do. You all know that. Our nation's electricity grid, what is it? It's like a square peg in a round hole. It's being forced to adapt to unreliable and inconsistent methods of electricity generation. That's what's going on. Now, this reckless push, that's what it is, this reckless push towards so-called renewable energy, which is not renewable at all. What's renewable about Chinese solar panels and wind turbines that end up in landfill at the end of their useful life anyway? It's not renewable. Look, it's only going to push up electricity prices, we all know that, and it's smashing Australian landholders, farmers and fishers. Now, prime farmland and sea life, they're under direct threat from our nation's ill-advised solar and wind transition. Now, farmers, they're facing compulsory acquisition or even worse, being imposed with high-voltage power lines through their property with no entitlement to adequate compensation. Now, a few months ago, it was the Secretary-General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres. What did he say? Antonio Guterres informed the world that we have moved from global warming to the era of global boiling. This guy's a nutcase, that's what he is. Global boiling. It was all very dramatic, that's what it was, and it was all, well, to me, it was a little bit funny. And for those of us in the Senate who eagerly wait to find out what comes after global boiling, perhaps it's this. Perhaps next time he'll come on TV and he'll warn us about, I don't know, global microwaving. How about that? Or maybe he'll tell us that, oh, we've entered the era of global molten lava. How about that one? Who knows? I don't know. Do you know? Who knows? This guy's nuts. He's nuts. But he'll be sure to come up with something dramatic in order to get a headline and keep the climate fear, which is what it is, it's like climate fear porn, in the news and top of mind for the misinformed among us. That's what he's doing. Personally, I don't mind the term global boiling because you know what? Tempers are boiling right now. Tempers. At least in regional Australia, not so much in the inner city for the woke latte-sipping lefty activists, but in regional areas, tempers are boiling. Farmers are boiling mad. They're boiling mad at the government's plan to litter the countryside. That's what it is, litter the countryside with wind turbines that do what? That destroy prime agricultural land. Now, our very own climate high priest, Minister Chris Bowen, he is telling our farmers that they must put up with wind turbines that are, around 285 metres tall or something like that, being plonked into their paddocks. That's what he's saying. And if these hulking great turbines, these monuments to ridiculousness, these monuments to madness are not enough, if they're not enough of a blight on the landscape, Minister Bowen is telling them that he's also potentially going to crisscross their properties with 10,000 kilometres of transmission lines. 10,000 kilometres. Now, in the town of Oberon in New South Wales, the government is planning on erecting around 400 of these wind turbines. 400. Now, the City of Sydney's got 16 buildings that are more than 200 metres tall. Now, Oberon in the central tablelands would have 400 turbines that are higher than that. For the love of God, doesn't anyone care about the Eagles? What about the Eagles? We're evergreens. Save the Eagles, right? Save the Eagles. Now, apart from being an eyesore, the whir of just one of these monstrosities can be heard up to 10 kilometres away. Multiply that by 400 and you can start to understand. You can start to understand why the people of Oberon are red hot about this one. Why they're red hot about this issue. Now, of course, let's be honest, of course, the eyesore won't be seen from the Prime Minister's residence. Of course it won't be. And the noise pollution will not be heard in Minister Bowen's electorate or in any of the Greens or Teal's members' electorates either. Now, the Oberon community, they believe They believe, and not without good reason, I might add, that the proposed wind farm will damage the value of their homes, of their farms, of their businesses, and they're right. And for what? For what? For nothing. And if Minister Bowen, right, if Minister Bowen manages by some miracle to reach the end of his net zero rainbow, let's call it that, the end of his net zero rainbow, China continues to increase their emissions. They're not stopping, and they will quickly swallow up whatever gains Australia has made. We don't talk about China enough in this place, and we should. And here's the added bonus, or rather the kick in the you-know-what. Here's the kick in the you-know-what. We buy these wind turbines from China mostly, who manufacture them with energy supplied by Australian coal. Australian coal. Ridiculous. Net zero, it's this. It's nothing more than a wealth transfer to the CCP and, as my colleague Senator Roberts likes to say, global predatory billionaires. That's where it's going. You can't make this stuff up. You just can't. It's madness. No wonder Chairman Xi Jinping, the chairman, loves Australia so much, at least he claims. Few other things in life would give him as much to laugh about in his life right now than our energy policy. It's nuts. We shut our country down, we send everything to China, and they laugh at us. They laugh at us. Minister Bowen, he wants to plonk 40 new wind turbines a month in regional areas every month for the next 7 years. He says it'll save the environment. That's what he says. No, Minister Bowen, it's not going to save anything. It's going to destroy the environment, and it's going to ruin people's lives. Now, the pain being inflicted on the people of Oberon and all the other country folk across the country, from Queensland to Tasmania right now, needs to stop. It needs to end. If the government is serious about achieving net zero, if they're serious, if they're not just a patsy for China, then they could do it with nuclear power and have the added bonus of not destroying the lives and livelihoods of all the rural communities. The government's stubborn refusal, that's what it is, a stubborn refusal to even contemplate nuclear is frankly outrageous. It's outrageous. It's enough to make country people's blood boil. There's your global boiling. The country people's blood is boiling. Now listen to the concern of our farmers, Minister Bowen and Prime Minister Albanese. Rather than bullying them into accepting turbines and transmission lines that they don't want or need, listen to them. Consider nuclear instead. Now, if you really want to shore up our power supply, for God's sake, stop this madness. Now, once again, I will commend Senator Colbeck and Cadell for their motion. We need to investigate and expose the reality of net zero, because let's be honest for a second. Let's be honest. Net zero makes net zero sense, not when you're using solar panels and wind turbines that once again end up in landfill at the end of their useful life, and batteries that last maybe, if you're lucky, 7 to 10 years, and then also end up in landfill at the end of their useful life. What is the point of this? What is the point? Nuclear energy is the answer. It's something that we can, I would hope, all agree on. Well, the adults anyway could all agree on, and it's the best way forward if you believe in the garbage and the lies and the misinformation that is CO2 is going to kill us all, because it's not. It's absolute garbage. Thank you, Acting Deputy President. That's my kind of